you going?
Hey.
Oh, what a setup. That's the best background.
Yeah, exactly. What better background than the bike, right? It's not about me. It's about the bike.
No, it's so good. And yeah, you're moving house today, you said, huh?
Yeah, actually moving sort of over the next couple of weeks and just trying to get it done as quickly as possible, not to drag it out.
Oh,
Um,
man.
so,
Moving
yeah.
sucks. So I don't envy you at all.
I know. It's the worst. You realize how much junk you have and just how much you've accumulated.
It's so true. My wife watched the doco, The Minimalist. And
Oh,
yeah, so when we moved, it was just like turf in, turf in, turf in.
that's impressive. That's what you need. You can't have any affinity for the crap.
It's so true. So no, thanks for coming on. I don't have any plan at all here. You're my first guest that I'm sort of interviewing. So we'll just go freestyle and sort of see where it goes. And
No worries. The guinea pig.
yeah, exactly. And no questions or nothing's out of bounds. So just thought we'd have a chat. And from my point of view, and I know the people that are watching, I've loved watching your Instagram, and we've at braaap been watching you post about our bike and your bike, and that's so awesome. So I thought you got to be high. You're at the top of the list actually to get on. So yeah, we love that.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, honestly, just kind of enjoying having a bike, and I'm still learning. I'm by no means an expert, so it's just fun to kind of record the process and share it with others, and just connect with the bike community out there.
That's awesome. And so I'm keen to hear a bit I actually don't know anything about you, so I'm keen to hear from scratch. You just got into riding recently by the looks of it, but had you ridden as a kid, or did you have any experience, or what was your story?
Absolutely zero experience with motorbikes. I always thought it was super cool. I'm a bit of a tomboy, so naturally gravitated to anything with them, and motorbikes was definitely up on the dream list. But I never really had the guts to do it, and I think it's really intimidating when you don't have friends or family or you grew up around bikes to kind of get into it. And there's no way you can kind of go to just figure it out. You kind of have to go in Victoria and do the 2-day course.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not even sure about this, but I'm going for my license this year.
That's awesome.
But my older brother actually really kind of spurred me on to do it. He got a motorbike. He actually got a braaap, the sort of classic black Mercury that you guys have.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he loved it. And I was kind of like, oh, I really like the cafe racer look. And, the prices point as well was really appealing because, again, I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. I didn't know much about bikes, so I didn't want to buy a classic bike that just because I didn't have that experience. So his kind of recommendation really spurred me on to kind of look at braaap and see what I could get that was a little bit more personalized and a little bit more me.
That's awesome. Well, I think you took that little bit more personalized and maximized that, because your bike looks nothing like the standard bike now. I love that. So your brother was stirring you on, and then you decided to go and do the course. Was that literally learning to use the clutch? Were you literally from scratch type thing at the course, or how did it go?
Yeah, literally it's a 2-day course. So you get there and they sort of teach you, how it's all set up, and they kind of ask if anyone's driven a manual car, and I don't. So I literally had no idea what on earth a clutch was. So the whole thing was super foreign, but also really fun. And you're learning how to, release the clutch slowly. You figure out what happens when you dump it pretty quick. And, you learn all about changing gears, and, you're kind of weaving in and out of cones and all that sort of stuff on, the first couple of days. So, and then you really build up to going out on the road on the second day, which is exciting and terrifying all at the same time.
Terrifying for you and the others?
Yeah, I think everyone is here, probably most so the instructor. And then you walk away, obviously, if you pass, and you're kind of like, oh my God, I have my motorbike license, and I've got, maybe 4 hours under my belt. Now I've got to go get a bike and get kitted up. So it's super foreign process. So I think you definitely have to go into it kind of taking the risk and just having some fun.
That's awesome, man. That's pretty courageous. I'll sign up, I'll do it, and you're all in. I love it.
Yeah, that's it. No turning back once you're there.
We actually have heaps of people ask us about that process. So it's awesome to hear from like the horse's mouth, because like someone like myself, I grew up riding. So when new people come in, like we're trying to help people like yourself get into the motorcycling. And like, that's the best thing, seeing someone like you who gets a bike for the first time and like you've conquered something, like you've learned to ride, you got your license, you got your bike. Like it's so awesome. It's more than just riding your bike. It becomes a bit of a lifestyle, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I didn't kind of go into it going, I'm either, a bike person or a car person.
Yeah.
I've kept my car, and I kind of like the freedom of having both.
Mm.
And the bike kind of gives you a different kind of freedom. It's really liberating. It's really exciting. Despite the fact that you're doing it on your own, or at least, you can take a pill in. I find that it's actually really social. The whole bike community, which
that's cool.
was kind of surprising as well. I was kind of expecting it to be very much a solo sort of sport, but yeah, that's something I've discovered along the way.
That's awesome. What sort of, like, tell us about the social experience. Like, I'm going to get a seat while you tell me, but tell us about the social side of it. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is actually. I kind of had seen that there was a few sort of Instagram and Facebook groups of predominantly female riders, and that I sort of stumbled across. And they were really promoting a lot of sort of casual rides, promoting a lot of female equipment, and gear, which was something that I found was quite hard to find as well. That wasn't ridiculously daggy that I didn't want to be wearing. Not that it's a fashion parade out there, but you do want something that feels you and feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really great events that people hold. For example, Sheila's Shakedown, which is held in sort of February. The all females camp out. They've got shine and show. They've got lots of games, and it's just a really great way to, I think, go meet people in a really not judgmental way. You don't need to be an expert. You can be on your L's and join. You can be somebody who's been riding since, maybe like yourself and have a background in it. And I've just found everyone, whether a girl or guy that I've met that rides, there is that kind of strong bond. And I think initially I thought as a female I might be, being a minority out there, I might be judged or I may not be welcome. And I just found it's not the case. Any guy that sees you on a bike thinks it's awesome. At the lights, people giving you thumbs up, and it's really cool.
That's awesome. You know how truckies have like a wave? Do you have a special wave, like a biker wave or something like that?
Well, I'm probably just do like a little humble wave, but at the start I was too scared to like take my hands off, so I just kind of do a nod.
That's awesome. So you got to get the nod down, Pat.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I don't think I have a truckies wave myself. I'll have to work on one. Maybe like this. Exactly. I definitely noticed there's like the nod though. If you see another person on a motorcycle and you definitely like acknowledge each other, don't you?
Yeah, I was actually made a post about that. I thought it was really funny that I thought it was just maybe I was on my learners and it's kind of like, oh, that's cute, keep going, kind of a nod.
Good for you.
It happens all the time that you'll be driving past somebody and they'll just give you kind of a, I don't know, I feel like it's a, hey, big fellow badass, like a little bit of street cred.
I love that it's gone from like, you're on your learners, like, good for you, to like, hey, fellow badass.
Well, you don't look as cool, I feel like, with your L plate and your high vis here in Victoria. It's pretty obvious you're just trying to work out how not to dump the clutch at the lights.
That's awesome. So what do you ride to work, or what's the most like common use of your bike?
Well, I got the bike in 2017, and around that time I was working in Cremorne and sort of Richmond area. So when the weather was good, I was riding into work every day.
How far's the ride?
Awesome.
How far's the ride?
It would be about 20, 25 minutes, depending on traffic.
That's cool.
So much quicker on the bike as well.
Oh, how much? That's an interest. I love asking this question. I should have had that on my list for you. How much time do you save riding versus, like, do you drive if you don't ride or catch a train or something?
If I was catching the train, because parking around there is a nightmare, it would take about 40 minutes. And then on the bike, it's like 25. So it's super quick and it's just so much better not having to be standing up or, you know, squeezing into a train. And I think at the end of the day as well, to be able to hop on your bike and just unwind, take the long route home, it's really nice.
That's so cool. What do you do for a living, Jen?
At the moment, I actually went for a pretty big career change, and I'm now just joining the Australian Defence Force in the Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not a pilot. I just have to say that straight up. I'm not cool.
I was waiting for you to get the aviators out and give me the nod.
Get the leather jackets on. Nah. I'm actually just working in HR, so I had to sort of caveat that because I feel like it sounds way cooler than it is.
I'm going to edit that bit out anyway.
Yeah, just cut that out. Leave it there.
And I'll edit the bit like, "Hey, fellow badass" into that, so you can. And what were you doing before? What were you doing before that?
I was working in marketing. So
cool.
I worked at a market research agency, and then before that worked at Nissan Automotive.
Yeah, cool. Oh, it's good to get a bit of like history. These things are so awesome. Like, I think that's been one of the benefits of COVID-19 is that we've been trying to work out how to get to know like people who ride the bike better and like share people's stories. And like I said, like yours was one of interest, but it's so interesting to hear like people's lives that choose to ride a bike. And I love how, you use your bike in just your normal life, like just to get to work, which could be boring. Like getting to work is like such a boring thing to do. And all of a sudden it's exciting and it's your passion as well. Like you love your bike and you've turned it into more than just a bike. Like it looks like a piece of art to me. Every time I see your Instagram, I'm like, you've really thought this through, like every bit of it. It's
oh, you're gonna make her blush.
It's so good. So tell us about like that process. Like how come your bike doesn't look like a stock standard braaap? Like what happened? What did you do?
To be honest, I can take no credit for it. I bought it from a company who were obviously buying the braaps and tinkering around with them to make them quite unique.
Cool.
But I did kind of know what I wanted, and it was something that looked pretty much exactly like Herbie. And that was based on what I'd seen on Instagram and taking inspiration from a lot of classic bikes, particularly BMWs, which I knew were way out of my price range. So it was kind of like, how do I get what's in my mind and what I've seen in an affordable way that's not going to break the bank? And again, you didn't know, or I didn't know if I was going to enjoy owning a bike. You know, you go for the license and you think, yeah, that was awesome. But, you know, what's the reality of getting a bike? And it's quite expensive and a bit of a barrier to get into initially because you've got to buy the bike, you've got to buy all the gear and do the license and stuff. So it is a bit of a hurdle initially. But I sort of saw it online and I sort of compared with some other ones. And I really felt this was going to be the right bike for me.
That's awesome. And so you picked the bike up. Like when you said you wanted to buy the bike, you went to the dealership and you showed them photos and said like, this is what I'm thinking. And then you picked the bike up as you wanted it, customized and personalized, ready for you, huh?
Yeah. So they had done a lot of the work on it already and I'd seen it in the showroom. And I'd seen a few other places that had sort of similar custom jobs, but the thing that really stood out to me was the paintwork, which is the sort of two stripes that the bike has on the tank and then sort of on the tail sort of fin bit there.
That was perfect. Was that practice?
I nailed it, right? That wasn't planned at all. And yeah, I really liked it. I think there was a few things that I did to kind of tinker around with it to make it a little bit more comfortable for me. It had Clubman bars on it, so it was really cool cafe racer look with the Clubman bars, but I'm pretty short and they kind of go down at a bit of an angle and it was a real stretch for me and it was just really putting a lot of pressure on my wrist. So I ended up changing the bars to Trackman bars, which just gave me a bit more of an upright position. And when I was going into work with a heavy backpack, that was just so much more comfortable. I changed the mirrors just again to suit where I kind of felt that was the most intuitive for me to look. And then I've just, done a few little things like changing the lights or the globes and that sort of stuff to be a bit brighter. And that's really it. I was really lucky that what I loved and what I wanted for the bike, there was something that was so close to that. It's not always the way, but
Yeah.
I think you just have to really look and see what you can find and work with the companies that you're interested in.
That's so cool. So tell us what you have done. I can see a few things, like obviously your bars, your mirrors, your paint. You told us about that. What else we got on there?
So there's the exhaust wrapping. So originally that's obviously just exposed piping, whereas she's got a white sort of wrap.
Yeah.
Obviously the whitewash tires. On the front, I'm trying to nail this.
That's awesome. That's like, here's one we prepared earlier.
Yeah, same here, trying to draw an arrow. But yeah, so the lights are actually sort of like twin lights, which I love because it looks like
cool.
lovely eyes. And then obviously the handlebars and then the mirrors are sort of onto the ends of that.
Yeah.
Then I'll move this way so we can see. This is a really good setup. I really nailed it.
You really did.
Perfect. And then the exhaust is custom as well. It's so loud. I feel like it makes this bike sound like it's so much more than a 250, which is awesome because it makes me feel like she's super intimidating. And if you're noisy, you're going to be heard, and sometimes being heard is just as good as being seen out there. Obviously the middle section here has been taken out as well, so it's quite exposed. Everything's actually underneath this panel here and underneath the seat, so that's where the battery lives. Cool. And everything like that as well, which is really handy. It's nicely sort of tucked away.
That's cool.
Obviously the seats are different color, it's brown, and then we've got this sort of cover at the back which matches the tank in terms of its paintwork.
That's cool.
And then the tail lights are actually, they're sort of integrated indicators and rear lights as well. So they kind of have a nice look because there's not too much bulkiness at the back as well with the lights.
I love that. That's so cool. Have you had any been loud exhaust? Have you had any problems? Because you could get booked for that. Like, but have you been booked or anything? Or what do you do to make sure you don't get booked?
That's actually a genuine concern. Obviously it passed the roadworthy, so I was like, I feel like it's fine, but I think you just have to be smart about it, and you know, you only sort of rev your exhaust when you feel like, you know, there's a potential for somebody to pull out and you just want to make your presence known a little bit more. And you know, I'm not somebody who's gonna, you know, be a show off at the lights anyway, so I think for the most part I'm all right, but I think my tip would be just be wary of where you are and use wisely.
That's so funny. I was at, we were filling up our car at the servo the other day, and a guy came in on a bike with the same muffler as yours. And what I've noticed is, and I'm so guilty of this myself, when you roll into the servo, you have to give it like those like it's so useless. Like, it doesn't do anything practical, but it just sounds sick. Do you do that?
Yeah, definitely. Guilty? When I'm pulling up to friends and they're all sitting at the cafe, I'll make sure they know that I've arrived. And you know, that's the coolest thing as well, is that, like, you know, I didn't need a bike with a big engine, but the exhaust makes it sound awesome. So I feel like I kind of got the best of both worlds, to be honest.
That's cool. And what's your top speed? What have you had it up to?
I've probably got up to about 90. And that was probably pushing it, I feel like, a little bit as well. I feel like the bike is really comfortable, sort of around like 60, 70 Ks. It obviously can reach 80 without any issues. But I mean, for the most part, with like a backpack and just where I kind of go, I'm usually on like 60, sort of 70 roads anyway. So I've honestly never had the point where I felt like, you know, if I had a 400cc, I'd be sweet here, or regret the engine size. I think for what I use, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think in 2017, if I'm correct with your model, we actually had a bigger rear sprocket because we realized that a lot of people were buying the bike for the city. But what we've done now is we've got a gearing kit so you can have the bike do over 110 Ks an hour because a lot of people we've noticed are starting to ride on the highway. And for example, like I live down at Frankston, so to get to the city, I take the highway, and I like to sit on 100 or 110. So that's just something to note. Like, your riding's obviously very city based, so you don't need extra top speed, but it's always interesting that here where how people are riding? Do you hit the highway? Or I suppose you don't have any highways between your house and work. You go all 60, 70K type roads, you said?
Yeah, I mean, like, I might go on the PN Highway, which is 80 sort of max speed, and the bike does that absolutely easily.
Yeah.
I can imagine, though, if you were going on something like the East Link or that sort of thing, that you would just want that extra bit of oomph just to feel a little bit safe, particularly on those windy days. You don't want to be feeling like started out on the right-hand side of the lane and you end up on the left and you're wondering how that happened.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it's interesting for anyone watching, like that's something to talk to us about, is to get your bike. If you're on the highway, the new models are much more geared for that. Like they'll do over 100 standard, but you can go further if you want. I think it's like $60 for a gearing kit. So that's really easy change. But if you're in the city, it doesn't matter. It's easy. So interesting. And so what else? Like your brother's got a bike. Do you guys ride together or what happens?
Well, it was actually crazy timing. So I got my bike a few months after he ended up selling his because he went overseas. And his plan was he was moving to Paris. So he thought, I'm going to get a bike and, I'm going to get my dream bike, which was a Triumph at the time. And then he didn't end up doing it, but he's moving back in a couple of months. And I know his plan is definitely to that dream. It didn't happen overseas, but I think he's going to get something a little bit more like a touring bike. So I'm definitely looking forward to being able to go out together. I think our parents are slightly cringing.
Oh man, that's hilarious. And how long did your brother have a braaap for before he went overseas?
I think he had it for about 3 years.
Oh, cool. And so you've had yours for 3 years as well now?
Yeah, I can't believe it. It's really gone quite quickly, and I feel like we've had a lot of fun together, and I don't know, I feel like there's so many more good times ahead.
I should have asked. You've got a name for your bike. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm one of those weird people that I name my car, I name obviously then my bike.
My wife does that too. I now find myself calling our car by the name that like my wife's given the car. Like it's so funny.
It makes sense. You care about them and you love them. Why wouldn't you?
That's so funny. So what's the name of the bike?
So I call the bike Herbie, predominantly because I saw the racing stripes, which is a sort of blue and red stripe, and it just reminded me of the movie with the VW and the stripes and the colors. So it just felt right, and I kind of started off as a bit of a joke, and it kind of stuck, and I just embraced it. And I was like, well, everyone's calling it Herbie, I might as well, I started it.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, yeah, we've seen, if anyone's not following on Instagram, it's the_clutch_queen. Is that correct?
Yes.
So get amongst it.
Yeah, come join the fun.
I love it. And what's first ride plan? Oh, I suppose we're post-COVID now. What's first adventure planned?
I actually went to the Dandenongs with a couple of girlfriends who recently got motorbikes as well.
That's awesome.
And I really enjoyed that. I hadn't been up there for, months. And it was just really great. We took a different route, and they've got bigger bikes. They've got sort of 400cc, but it really didn't make a difference. I was a little bit further behind them, but at the same time, the bike was able to do everything without, smelling smoke or any of those things, which I think, some people kind of struggle with. And it was just really nice.
Were they smelling smoke because they're older bikes? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and there were sort of other friends that I've had, not these girls, but other friends who have got 250cc bikes that are a little bit older have sort of found that their bike kind of struggle to get up some of the sort of mountains and turns that are in sort of the Dandenongs, where Herbie was able to handle it absolutely fine. And as a city rider, I just thought it was so nice to kind of get out, and it's such beautiful roads around there. It was great.
That's awesome. No, I love hearing it. What else should I ask you? I'm the first timer in this, so like when the interviewer just goes to the interviewer, you tell me the story.
Look, well, I reckon like for anyone out there that's thinking of getting a bike and doesn't know where to start or isn't 100% sure, I would say at the very least, think about what you want the bike for.
Yeah.
You know, are you like me and you're using it for work and commuting, and a bit of fun on a nice day, or is it just for leisure? And then I think once you've worked that out, the next step is to kind of think about, you know, the engine size and your price point. I think they're the most important things to kind of think about first, because
Yeah.
you want it to be an enjoyable process. You don't want to be thinking about the money and worrying about it. You want to be able to get a bike that you'll love and enjoy, and you'll never regret the purchase.
Yeah.
And then I think just dive straight in, just give it a crack. You know, I honestly don't think you'll regret it. I think if you've been thinking about it, chances are it's probably right for you. A lot of my friends are like, a motorbike? What? And they can't imagine enjoying it. So they're definitely not the right people to do it. So go do the 2-day course, see how it feels. And then after that, just reconnect and connect with people that, you know, have bikes. And, you know, whether you've got mechanic friends or siblings that have bikes, just, you know, put yourself out there and enjoy the process. It really, really is a lot of fun.
I love that. So good. You're inspiring. You make me want to go and like make my bike cooler. I've loved like chatting, and I really genuinely have loved watching like how much you love the experience of motorcycling. And we try and talk about that here. And sometimes that sounds like a bit of a brochure statement. Like, you know, we don't sell food. We're not doctors. Like no one really needs a motorcycle. Unless you get into work, then it's transport a bit, but really no one needs a motorcycle. We do it because we love it, because there's passion, because it becomes your lifestyle, and it's like a disease that takes over. And I've loved that, like, you've been such a great reflection of the passion for riding, and that this is supposed to be like such a joy and such a privilege to have a motorcycle and to be able to get out and ride and love it. And yeah, you've inspired us on that, so thanks for that. I reckon you've inspired lots of others.
Yeah, look, that's what it's all about. And that's kind of why I created the page, was, you know, to have a bit of fun and not only document my experience, but, you know, hopefully encourage anyone else out there, you know, guy or girl that's thinking about it, that's particularly in Melbourne, that wants to connect and wants to have a friend to kind of go through the journey with, and not sort of ride alone. I think that's what it's all about. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of surprised myself, I think. I normally thought it was, you know, going to be something I did, but didn't necessarily love it to the extent that I did. And I do. And I think when you get a really nice sunny day in Melbourne, which we probably won't have for some time, today is the exception, but who knows, to be able to go out and ride. And, you know, I predominantly ride locally now because I'm not riding to work.
Yeah.
And even though it's a really easy route, beach road, it is so nice to go out there on a sunny day and just have the views of the beach and, you know, quiet Sunday morning. It's really, I don't know, it's really almost like euphoric. It's really calming, and you feel, I don't know, I always say that it kind of feeds the soul. And that's kind of what I think in essence kind of spurred me on to doing it, and has kept me going with it. Is, you know, it's definitely something that feeds my soul, and I think you've got to take those opportunities and have them.
So good. I love that. We talk a bit about here. We have a young adults group that we do life with and like just sort of chat with and walk along through life with. And we were talking this week in our group about recreation's recreation. Like you got to get out there and like let yourself be recreated and refreshed and filled back up. And I think that's what you do a great example of. Like, yeah, you ride your bike to work, but it's awesome to get out to the Dandenong Ranges for a ride like you did and get along Beach Road and be refreshed and recreate. So good.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it can be anything you want. You know, it can be somewhat transactional. You just get on and get off, or you can try and connect with people and try and have a bit of fun. And, you know, if you're somebody who knows a lot about bikes, obviously you can, you know, tinker around with it and you can change the look of it so easily. And I think the best thing is to just jump on and figure out what you want it to be for you and go from there.
So good. I love it. Well, I think I've asked all my questions. Like, that's been a really cool chat. Like, I've loved seeing your bike a bit more and hearing your story more. And I'm so grateful that you made time for us. I know you said you're moving house, so that sucks massively. And so grateful you made time for us. And yeah, it's awesome to hear from you.
Oh, look, honestly, absolutely my pleasure. Happy to chat anytime. It's been fantastic to talk to you as well and just hear a little bit more about what braap's doing. I didn't know that about, you know, the sort of gears and all that sort of of stuff, options that you guys are doing now. And I think that's great. It's just going to appeal to more people and how they want to use their bikes. So that's awesome.
So good. Can I get you to give us a braaap?
I nail it. I should turn Herbie on. It's way more impressive.
Can you do that? Let's do it.
All right, hold on. I got to grab the keys then. One
Oh,
sec.
really? That's so funny. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, one sec.
That's so funny. She'll be back. While Jen comes back, just want to like speak to anyone who's looking to get a bike. Like Lisa here, our sales manager, she can speak to you, or other sales managers can speak to you and help you with the process. We've got a new Rider Direct program, so the motorcycles are incredibly low prices, and we're trying to use the gift of the internet to get motorcycles to people as efficiently and with as low price as possible. So that's a big part of our process, and it's great to like try and make people feel local through the internet, and chats like this are great. So anyway, I was feeling time. Give us a listen.
All right, you ready?
Yep. That's cool. That's cool. Give it a rev for us. That's so cool. That's awesome. I hope that audio worked well on here, but it sounds really cool from my perspective here. So I love it.
Cold.
That's funny. We'll put you on the spot. Well, awesome to catch up. We'll get you down for a ride sometime soon. We've got to organise a ride in Victoria here. Maybe like we're thinking Wilson's Prom or something would be sick. So
yeah, that's good.
We'll have to get a crew together.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's definitely stay connected. I think it's really important at this time as well. And
yeah,
thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Love it. Well, thank you, and get back to moving your house.
Yeah, more boxes.
Nothing better. So awesome. I'll hit finish on the record here. Hang on. I don't know how to do that. I'll edit it later, but thanks heaps for that, Jen. Awesome to chat like that, and so good.
No worries. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll chat. See you soon. We'll actually catch up for that ride as well. So we'll stay tuned.
100%. Yeah.
All right. See ya. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.